Okay, apparently this black fatigue fucking hashtag is bringing out the absurdity in certain communities. Not only am I just getting racist ass stitches and videos just proving my point why I have black fatigue, now I'm getting ridiculous comments saying that indigenous people, American Indians, are now BOK people. They're BOK people. And now I'm having people telling me that gingers are BOK people. The whitest people on the fucking planet because they're ginger. Why? Because you have some red bones? Is that why? So now you're claiming it? And why? Because Indians are indigenous and you might have been indigenous in Africa? What? Where are you comparing it? Where are you getting this DNA fucking logic?
Just trying to stay sucker free in a world full of lollipops. I'm seeing all the ops. Fake news, fake views. It's an illness, the cure to the sick shit. It's the pretty realist.
What's good, family? Welcome to Pretty Realist. If this is your first time joining my channel, welcome. Now, I've spoken in a few of my videos that there is definitely a race war that's been going on social media. A whole new terminology that has actually just been going viral, which is called black fatigue. I've actually spoken about it. It's definitely been a lot of hostility when it comes to race relations on social media between black and white people, as well as situations when it comes to the foundational black Americans, Native Americans, when it comes to who's indigenous. You had the whole situation when it comes to the deportation. So then you had the black Americans going against the Hispanic. It's been a lot. But you know me, I am a Libra and I stand on the side of truth. I do not pick sides when it comes to the color of one's skin, even if it's from my own community. I also suffer from black fatigue from time to time. I love my people. I love y'all. I love y'all. But y'all be doing a little bit too much. You know, one of the best things I could ever did for myself was to stop watching baddies. That was like a gift to my brain because it is obvious that it is producing diarrhea when it comes to the culture that watches it. Not only did they get banned from Africa because they fought out there, you got idiotic young women like this one I'm about to play. You know what? I ain't even got nothing else to say. I'm gonna let y'all watch this shit.
Thing I've been seeing. So Summer was telling somebody that they face look like Emmett Till. Allegedly, Emmett Till is a SA victim. The girl was only 14. And they was like, they don't know why would Summer even say that because that is not something that you would even bring up. And now that she's going to be canceled because she's basically like.
And even through all of that, something happened. A young lady picked up her phone and said these words.
I just need to remind y'all again, everyone who is ginger, who has red hair, those are black people.
Oh, the internet went crazy.
So I've been seeing this all over TikTok about the ginger and black people thing, and I've been saying it from the get-go that we've always really messed with each other. But you know what I wear every night because of one of my ex-situationships? All right, hold up. Hello.
I've been enjoying this moment of peace that we've had between two opposite races that actually may be part of the same race. What if I told you that there was no black and white at one point? To do a reaction to this video, I found it on PBS. This lady actually really breaks down the history of racism. The only thing that's really been separating us more than anything is a social construct called race. Let's see what exactly happened. How did we get to this point? And then maybe we could kind of learn how we could grow from it.
Do you know that race was not always considered a biological or genetic category? So how did we come to understand it that way today? We all have a working definition of race. Whether you kind of understand it, hate it, claim not to see it, or study it, hint, hint, cough, cough, that's me, it still plays a role in all of our daily lives. From the way that people interact to the places they live and stereotypes they face, race is still a determining factor in our social structures, both inside and outside of the US. But full disclosure, I do a lot of US history, so this is a US specific video about race, since these histories operate differently across various contexts. Okay, so let's get started by asking, what were some of the earliest definitions of race? Well, before we started thinking of race along the lines of biology, genetics, or phenotype, aka physical appearance, did you know that it was largely considered a category of kinship or group affiliation? In the 16th century, we started to see the use of the word race in English, but it isn't attributed to physical traits or behavior. It meant quite literally that you were all members of the same household, group, or shared a common ancestor. But when did race shift to being less about kinship groups to sounding more complicated than the lyrics to I'm My Own Grandpa? Well, we can see that starting in the colonial era. And that brings us to our second question. Why did we see the shift in the idea of race in the 17th and 18th century? The answer to this question is firmly rooted in two things: the rise of global capitalism that was backed by slavery and colonialism, and a period of theorizations in Europe known as the Enlightenment. When the Spanish began the colonization of the Caribbean and later Latin America after 1492, they looked to native populations to mine silver and gold under brutal working conditions. They set about enslaving, attacking, and murdering those who didn't comply. Thousands of native people died as a result of overwork, genocide, or because they were exposed to new diseases brought over with the Spanish settlers. And when England established its first successful long-term colonies in North America in Virginia in 1607, they looked to mirror this pattern of enslavement with native people, while also seeking copious amounts of silver and gold. But they had limited success with this route because, one, Virginia wasn't exactly rich in gold, and two, native populations were able to resist the efforts of early settlers through fighting back or escaping and blending into adjacent native groups. English settlers still wanted to make money off of this venture, so they began to look to alternative ways of making Virginia profitable, and that came in the form of tobacco. But a major problem with growing tobacco is that it requires a ton of labor, and the laborers needed the agricultural skills to turn the crop into cash. Because they had already met with sustained resistance from native populations, English settlers looked to other potential labor sources: enslaved Africans and indentured British laborers. There are some important distinctions to make between these two groups. First, indenture was a contractual agreement with fixed terms that varied widely. Some indentured servants were brought to the colonies against their will, either as a punishment or because they were children. Terms of these contracts were often very exploitative, but many came willingly in exchange for their passage to the new colonies, and many of these indentured servants finished the terms of their contracts and began lives as property owners.
If you are enjoying this video, please don't hesitate to click the bell. I greatly appreciate it. Subscribe to my channel and get all the updates and notifications when I drop the next video.
Enslavement of Africans was an entirely different category of labor from indenture, because one, slavery was for life, not for a fixed term or a number of years. Two, slaves were not considered human. Three, it was not a contract because it takes two consenting humans to enter a contract. And four, slave laws were enacted codifying hereditary slavery, meaning that if you were enslaved and had children, then those children would also remain in slavery. With the expansion of this system, there was understandably some resistance, even from Europeans. So in order to continue to justify slavery, we start to see the pseudoscience of race emerge that connected physical features, behavior, and legal rights right around the 18th century when colonial use of slaves was expanding. Anthropologist Audrey Smedley notes that scientific ideas about physical appearance and racial difference in the 18th century were largely folk ideas used to justify already existent social norms. So as a result of a desire to perpetuate systems
like how much hate do you have to have in your heart to be like, you know what, and you have a specific type of character just because of the way that your head's shaped? It shows that a lot of the scholars and the great thinkers of that era were absolutely idiots. If you look at the cranium, it would seem that the black person may be considered to be the smartest one. Look at the head. Look how long the back of the head is compared to the other two. I mean, the dude in the back looked like he just smoked a whole blunt and had a shot of Jack. I mean, if you really want to know the truth. And then I could tell that whoever drew this, they tried to make the black man resemble the monkey. Some real stupid Darwin shit. Darwin was an asshole. Was
systems of exploitation, more and more distinctions were made about the supposed differences amongst races, primarily the differences of black people from their white counterparts. This evolution of race became more concretized after social structures of slavery were in place, and not before, and was solidified by the Enlightenment. Which brings us to our third question. How did the Enlightenment impact definitions of race? The Enlightenment was a period of primarily European thought and ideological development that saw the emergence of some key concepts that tie back into today's discussion. First, there was a push in scientific communities to categorize the natural world using reason and creating elaborate hierarchical systems that emphasize the similarities between different species and subgroups and the inherent differences amongst others. And race was fitted into this same mold. As European theorists looked to classify the world into scientific groupings, physical
Oh, this is from 1854. This picture is from 1854. Now, and I can't wait to show this on my TikTok. They made the European, of course, they made his ass perfect, whatever. Look at the American. He has a fro. He don't look nothing like the Native Americans that we see today. Look at the Australian. The Australian looks just like the Negro, right? He look like he got some B2Bs too. I want to know what this Hottentot is. That's a South African. A Hottentot is now considered a racial slur. Oh, wow. So the Malay would be like Indonesia, Singapore, Thailand. But I just thought that that was interesting about the American having a whole afro right there.
As European theorists looked to classify the world into scientific groupings, physical markers that were already established social norms through enslavement and genocide were ways that they sought to prove that this was the natural order and not a social construction. For example, Thomas Jefferson, who was a proponent of concepts like individual liberty and freedom for white men, or those he considered his peers, also made claims that black slaves required less sleep than their European counterparts to justify excruciatingly long and inhumane work hours, of course subordinate to other races, and they were cast as the natural sacrifices of progress. These assumptions were also codified into law in the 18th and 19th century. The first naturalization laws of the United States in 1790 limited naturalized citizenship to free white persons and excluded other groups. Children born of enslaved mothers were said to inherit the legal statuses of their mother, effectively keeping them in bondage perpetually. And Native Americans were often denied legal property rights, which helped to expedite the process of westward expansion across the North American continent. And anti-miscegenation laws were drafted in order to assure that people from different racial backgrounds did not intermarry or have children in order to protect ideals of racial purity. But these racial categorizations didn't always neatly align with skin tone. In his book, Whiteness of a Different Color, European Immigrants and the Alchemy of Race, historian Matthew Jacobson notes that in the US, white or Caucasian was not always considered a unified race composed of anyone of European descent. Whiteness was often considered exclusive to Anglo-Saxon descendants, while other European groups were broken into different ethnic categories such as Celt, Slavs, Iberics, and Hebrews, which were considered separate races from the 1840s to the early 20th century. But in the 1920s, when there was a stemming of immigration from Europe, these different races were subsumed into one category called whiteness to shore up a cultural majority against other racial groups and immigrants, and this persisted throughout the 20th century. So how does it all add up? Well, race started as a marker of kinship, but then we see it shift to become less about familial inheritance and more focused on physical indicators due to the rise of Enlightenment reasoning and labor exploitation. But where does that leave us today? Well, in the past several decades, scholars have noted both an uptick in identifying with your ethnic history, for example, pride in your country or culture of origin, instead of just being white or black, but we've also seen a revival of outdated theories of race being biologically determined and attached to certain traits, like considering all people of one physical type as prone to certain behaviors. But regardless of how people identify themselves, race continues to be a complex topic of discussion and debate.
And if you're a millennial or a Gen Xer, then you know what I'm talking about. Like we had encyclopedias in our home, and my grandmother used to have this really, really large book I don't know where she got this book from, y'all, but I used to love looking at the pictures of it. And it used to have those pictures of the skulls in the head, and I didn't understand it. Like I knew that it was weird. When I was looking at the Negro, I was like, that don't look like nobody in my family. It was an interesting take because it really like lets you know that racism was something that was created only off the basis of control and manipulation of other people. Even though they bought their asses over here, they wasn't even from here, but you came over here and you just started regulating shit and kind of make everybody else feel outcasted. But then over the years, if you look at how immigration has changed so much over the years, those same groups that they had off to the side, now they allow people to come over here and classify as white just so they can make it look as if there's more of them than there is of any other minority. Like Black people are the minority, Native Americans are the minority, Hispanics are the minority. Well, kinda, because even some Hispanics are able to classify as white. Faces of people who just want control. And now we got gingers on our side because they Black too. Plus are mixed with so many different things. And even in this country, which is a melting pot, it's no reason why people should still be racist. We all have a common ancestor. So it's just time. And we're in this era right now where we have to learn how to unlearn everything that we did learn. Because if we continue to live in the past as a Black American, at every white person that I see, I need to be scared of. I'm no better than the people who created racism in the first place. Just saying. And I hope that I get to live and see the day that we could just look at each other as human beings, because that's very important. And I think that Mother Nature and the Creator would definitely want it that way. All right. Well, I'm going to get up out of here. This was a short video. I know I've been dragging y'all for the last couple of weeks with these long ass videos, because I know our attention span is cooked. But I hope you really enjoyed this video. And, definitely leave me a comment below. Tell me, what do you think about this video? Do you believe that racism is something that we will ever get over as not only human beings, but as Americans? I've been thinking about a way of getting a group of people, and we all just come together, formulate our own community. We work off the land, we maintain it. And that way we ain't got to worry about the rest of the white and Black fatigue, race fatigue. That's what it is to me. But don't shoot the messenger. Only receive the message. If it's for you, receive it. If it's not, leave it. All right? Peace.
Just trying to stay sucker free in a world full of lollipops. I'm seeing all the ops. Fake news, fake views. It's an illness, the cure to the sick shit. It's the pretty